Hi everyone. Today, this is in continuation to the discussion which we were having over last, I would say, 15 plus days. So the focus is on the smart contract itself, which is on ImpulA network without the Ethereum. So smart contracts can also be run on different chains. So the one which we have developed is ImpulA, and I'll walk you through some of the use case studies um, which are being utilized to solve a similar problem statement, but in different aspects. And that would be safeguarding risk assessment and the terminologies which are very much part of the protocol in terms of the safeguarding risk assessment. And we are going to give safeguarding risk assessment as a short form, which would be SRA. And I'm putting myself on mute. Let me just get the data set right, and we'll deep dive into this. And this can be deployed on the ImpulA stuff. So, putting myself on mute right now. So, in one aspect, we can take SRA as a guardrail, and the guardrail itself would be deployed for different cores. And we are not trying to build a periphery right now. We are just scratching the surface in terms of the understanding of how and what, with the use case studies which have been developed, can be utilized for 6G and the like for the future generative technology, and at the same point of time can be deployed for whatever is available right now at hand, and particularly from the standpoint view of software being deployed on the hardware part and solve the problems which different countries are delving right now. Okay, so when we are trying and understanding the safeguarding aspects of the risk assessment, it can be in hindsight or at the outset be part of the SWOT protocol. So SWOT stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Um, I'm going back to a very old application, but it is good from the design thinking point of view. So the first tagging around the same is G06F16/21, design, administration, or maintenance of the. What are the resources, workflows, management from the enterprise point of view, or organizing planning? Modeling would be G06Q10/06. Automation and management. Now, in 2025 and beyond, and particularly from the standpoint of 2026, this is something we can negate because the need of the hour is the management of the resources rather than the time. However, for the automation and the management, the applicable or tagging is G06Q 10/10. Emailing, that is the management of the electronic mailing, that is G06Q10/107. For the legal services, a lot has been developed around arbitration at a global basis. A lot is being developed. The point of contention here is how do DAO um, are utilized to solve the technological aspect of the disputes. Uh, Disputes are bound to happen in terms of where the clarity is negligible. Um, when you're trying and signing documents which are running 100 plus pages, it doesn't provide clarity. It is more to do with the confusion. What is important here is to understand the clarity aspect and have one page document, that is OPDs. OPDs should have clarity with a title, which itself states what is expected from the parties involved. Particularly, uh, we are going to see, or we are already seeing, the amalgamation, or I would rather say amalgamation is not the right word, but the mergers and acquisitions of multiple small silos based companies at a global level, tying up the resources and providing as a core service to the enterprises, where the subscriber list is running in perhaps in trillions. Um, the whole foundation of the policy framework has to be to delve with the data which is running at 10 raised to the power 15, that is quadrillion. So we are achieving quadrillion economy with the internet, that is uh, the online understanding of this portal altogether, which already has been from time to time um, at a okay let's I'll just track back my policy framework here right now. I'll just concentrate on the tagging part. So for these regulations, we have G naught 6Q50 slash 18. And for the filtering policies, we have H naught 4L63 slash 0227. So this is one of the stuff. Let's see what are we trying to do.
which is
Okay.
good, warm, I would say hot coffee.
Okay, so how, for example, we have the candidates with us, and let's consider the candidate as a source to understand the problem statement. Because from the primary market research point of view, and particularly when we are looking at safeguarding the risk assessment, the drill part has to be done upfront, so that when that kind of scenario is actually orchestrated in the real world, the I would say the OPD is ready with you, and that OPD is deployed, so that whatever happens in terms of, even if there is a lag period, that doesn't seem as a lag period because you have overcome that problem statement way ahead of time. And that is the beauty of the smart contracts on the ImpulA network, for which I already filed a patent 2 years back. The idea is not to get a patent certificate. The whole intention was, and the intervention was, to talk about it openly as a trade secret and deploy it in all sectors. And it's working wonderfully well. And this is a part of me in terms of whatever I have learned in last 2 decades serving the IPR field and working on, I mean, the best of the tech, which served the Fortune 10 companies, the Fortune 100 companies of the world. Okay, so here we are trying to understand there's a source, then there is modules we already discussed. So we have particularly made efforts to not use the word engine whatsoever way, just utilize the word module because it's a broader aspect. A broader aspect of the module itself is good enough for the digitization process of the information and the data sets, and good data sets. We are looking at good data sets. We are not looking at the garbage, because even if you go to these PubMeds and everything, there's so much of research being done on anything and everything. That doesn't mean that research is of use until unless it is deployed and there is use case study around the same. So that is very, very important right now. So we are trying to understand the security data set, how the security data set are identified with the granular data stores. So in this particular case, what happened was there is now extraction of the data. That is particularly many of the folks use the word fortification. I generalize myself with the word fortification rather than the extraction part, because fortification of the data Okay, we have this YouTube question. I'm liking it. I actually researched a little bit about it. Favorite thing about yourself? Okay, I refute to answer this question. Okay, next, um, we have so security designated data. We are looking at security designated data as SEC slash D. So data, we are taking just the letter D. And perhaps I would today, if somebody who would be looking at this data set at any given point of time, somebody said, hi, how are you? Okay, we are going to take the letter D, capital letter D, as on the timeline 2018. Are we coding something? Triple G means a lot to me, but I am absolutely no clue who are you right now. Anyhow, even if I have a clue, I don't want to talk about it. We were at the data set. So in this particular data set, we are looking at the capital D. We are taking capital D as on the timeline 2018. So the timeline for anyone who is watching it real time or would be watching it at any given point of time, take the timeline to code on the smart contracts as 2018. So take the year 2018, identify the events. I would rather say, let's, if I have to give the event, identify um, top 21 events of the year 2018. Okay, so we are here. Okay, let's just try and understand the extraction part of the data set here. So I'll be discussing about one more use case study, and then perhaps I might come online later in the day and discuss a little bit more and take you through the other data sets. But the year we are focusing right now is 2018. Okay. So how to select the content data stores? So when we are giving this work to a candidate and trying to understand the primary market research with a detailed questionnaire, um, what we are providing to the candidate at the UI level from the admin end would be ultra sensitive words, pictures, and objects are placed, and we are trying to understand what does that mean to them. Because see, the whole AI stuff which has been developed, that is synthetic in nature. We need to have these small models which we need to build again, and to build the model again, we need to have real insight about real events and scenarios. So there is an access control. The access control only opens, and this is also onto the ImpulA network, when they're able to perform the task at hand. And they, it's not that we are giving one task, at least five and more tasks would be provided. You can always go back to the application which I had framework terms. Look into it, you will understand what I'm trying to say. Then, if we have a robotic chatbot here, it is able to find the sensitive stuff from the incoming pile and it drops it to a particular location, which is already pre numbered and pre coded in terms of color. So, we have two things which are not changing is the color and the numbers. And again, that doesn't mean it will be applicable, like the males will go to one color code, females will go to another color code, bisexual will go to another color code. No, this is very dynamic depending upon their work which they have done both in the online world and in the offline world. Okay, so okay, so we are putting a layer. So this layer is all about the safeguard, the guardrail, which I talked about. Here, the guardrail is particularly I would say any sensitive item which is shown to the outside world through the internet portal, the system is running money or risk assessment, and it asks if this is released, how much cash would be made. So this is nothing to do with the gambling part. This is a very simple case scenario to understand, because folks understand, or I rather say the candidates understand business with an example of a business discussion altogether. So we need to identify the value. Now, in many terms, although we are talking about fiat currencies, um, whether right now the stable coins is equivalent to the price point of, or equivalent price point of a US dollar. The question which needs to be answered right now is whether we really just want to go with the dollar or we want to change it for 2026 and beyond in terms of what can be done, and not making any one country or continent as a superpower, because nature is the biggest blockchain and all these continents are going through their own menace of how nature is combating in real time. So that data set has to be taken into consideration. And personally, now what I feel is, though we have been talking about stable coins, we have been talking about fiat currency and the like, whether this is the right way of moving forward in 2026 is a question mark. Probably I would love to discuss this at a global level with the regulators in coming times. So that work is also undergoing right now. So let's see how that pans out in next couple of days. So that's there in the pipeline. So this is done. Let me see if I wish to discuss anything else. Or probably I'll just discuss the coding part. Okay. I'm fascinated with the automatic stuff being done right now, and let's understand this. What are the provisions for intelligent networking? I think most of the folks are unaware about this, but this is something one needs to delve in when they're trying to understand what AI is all about, what is blockchain, and the like, and it's very very important. So the provisions for intelligent networking is H04Q30029, and arrangement providing connection between exchanges. This is very fascinating because folks have no clue about it, and when you have no clue about it, that is where there is a lot of scope to learn it with the real intent. I'll just post this for other folks to review it at any given point of time whenever they look into it, because this one is really fascinating. So get into this, understand this whenever you look into it. I'm sure you would love to just dabble with this data set, because this data set itself is klug. So klug is another word for word smart. Okay, let's go back to this application. Okay, time, space, time switching. This is quite exciting. Okay. Supervised learning we already talked about. 6 G06N3/09. Supervised learning. Machine learning is G06N20/00. But this one is okay. For time, space, time switching, we have. Okay. So this one is for the time understanding. So try and understand this in another way altogether, but we will do that. Okay. So I need to look into some of the acts, the bear acts. Now this is getting global. This is nothing to do with one particular country, but probably what I'll do after this session, I'll study a little bit more on that, and I'll try and understand this with the ITU regulation of what we've been discussing right now, and what is incoming in terms of the cityverse. Probably I would rather say just let's take the word verse, because The prefix are changing. Folks have no understanding of blockchain, but people are talking about gold as a blockchain, properties as a blockchain, asset as a blockchain. So anything and everything can be put onto a blockchain. It's just that how people understand that. However, our focus with the ImpulA network is very simple. Nature is the biggest blockchain. So, hands on that understanding, and we just want to go with that. uh, I will probably, as I said, the paper of the month is already provided to the authorities, so it would be published, or it is in the process of being published. So once that is there in the public domain, people would be able to appreciate that and the equations which we are utilizing. Some are very new, some are a combination of old and new. But what will work in 2025 and 2026 and beyond would be altogether different data sets. Whatever was being taken as a hypothesis, that's never going to work, because environment has changed. So all these equations were developed keeping in mind whatever the environmental conditions were in terms of the parameters at that point of time. That doesn't hold any good. But what is one thing which is very static is the historical data set. Historical data set itself is smart enough to look into the stuff. Thank you for watching this out. Have a great coding day ahead. Thank you.